सौन्दर्य प्रतियोगिता होइन, अब विवेकको प्रतियोगिता हुनुपर्छ।
When every child who can get back the imprisoned, rewards with
Namaste. Welcome to Nepal's Top 7 Debaters 2013, produced by Today's Youth Asia. In today's episode, we are featuring the journey of the winners of Nepal's Top 7 Debaters 2013 English language from the audition round to the final round. Among all the runner-ups from the 6 categories, ANUSKA PANT of Grade 10 from Sri Satya Sai Siksha Sadan has been nominated as the winner of Nepal's Top 7 Debaters 2013 Category 7 Special Mention. This is her journey from the audition round to the final round.
Today I am going to speak for the topic Nepal should focus on Asia for economic prospects rather than relying on the West. Asia is the largest continent. It is the continent with huge economic prospects like China, India, Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, and many more such nations. Now, the idea of Nepal relying on the West, it is like underestimating the capability of our own family member and depending on our neighbors for things or products that are no more beneficial. I wonder, whom do you think would like to pay a 10% more money for the same product which you can get at a cheaper rate? It is the same when we export products from the West. Exporting product to the West increases the carry charge and our commodities become expensive. Similarly, when we import goods from West, our expenses get added up. But when we import goods from Asia, we get fresher and cheaper products. This not only increases the economy of those Asian countries but also benefits Nepal in one way or the other. Economists today predict that the future will be on the hands of Asian nations. Asian economies have been achieving remarkable productive catch-up in various sectors. Asian countries are now capable of conquering even the global market, whereas the West is facing a threat. Asian GDP is growing remarkably, whereas the West is facing an economic recession. Now, talking about the various economic prospects of Asia like China, India, and Japan, it is found that their products have overflown even the Western market. We are well known to the fact that China has grown to tenfold. It is a emerging country with economic growth far more exceeded than most of any other nation. Japan is one of the leading authorities in economy, and India is the third largest country in the world by purchasing power parity. When we have such huge flaming economies in our own vicinage, I do not find any reason for Nepal to rely on the West for economic prospects. Thank you.
The battle against climate change is being lost.
After the beginning of Industrial Revolution in 19th century, during 1960s, the effects of climate change started with severe natural disasters, where 5.2 million people were flood victims and 35 million people were afflicted by droughts in Africa alone. My former speaker said very easily that the effects of climate change are being minimized. Let me tell you, in 1972, Greenpeace was organized in 30 countries with an investment of 6 million members and a sum of $100 million. It mainly focused on oceanic and terrestrial ecology, environment, toxic substances, nuclear issues. Despite such huge efforts, after 40 years, I have witnessed no spatial metamorphosis so far. The polar ice caps are melting, glaciers are retreating, sea levels are rising. We have seen that low-lying lands like Maldives are drowning. Storms, droughts, floods, heavy waves, heat waves, and loss in biodiversity have pressurized the day-to-day lives of living beings. Many plants and animals are not able to cope with the existing climatic change. Species like polar bears, seals, walruses are especially vulnerable to such changes. These are the effects of man-made climate change. It is we individuals who are to be blamed. We could have cherished the bananas grown in our own field, but not. We want bananas to be imported from Kerala. We want air conditioners, cars, refrigerators. These are the main causes behind climate change. All I want to say is, All the UN's protocols, conventions will be useless if we are not able to bring changes in our attitudes. We have never tried to imagine how much energy and fuel is consumed just to transport a single Nokia mobile phone all the way from Finland to Nepal. So we humans now need to respond to the changes of climate by changing our attitudes and behaviors, simply because the failure to do so will betray us, our children, and the future generation. Thank you.
It should be made compulsory to donate healthy organs after death.
My opponents focused mainly on religious values, but let me tell you that our religion never seeks the body. It is the soul that the religion seeks. Similarly, our body is for granted. We never walk to join our bones, or we never walk to fit in our eyes. So what's the big deal in granting just a few part of it for the people in need after death? A dead body is in fact an inanimate organ which cannot feel. So what's the problem in giving a sight to a person who has never seen the sunrise? Talking about the present context, organ donor website clearly mentions that 20 people each day are dying because of the shortage of organ transplantation. This very shortage has today become the prime cause of human trafficking. In Canada alone, many people are dying because of kidney transplantation shortage. So the rich people who are able to buy the organ can easily buy, but those poor people who are also facing the same fate are mainly promoting human trafficking. They are buying the organs illegally. Bible clearly states that dust we are, dust we become. After death, our bodies are to be buried and cremated with organs which can save people's life. Would you rather like to leave a heart in a dead body if we can help to save the life of a 7-year-old boy? Of course, no human is obliged to help another human, but saving others people's life is the right thing to do. However, after death, if you could be useful to someone, then why not? Thus, I mainly focus that organ donation should be made compulsory because it saves life, it curbs illegal activities. Thank you.
Anuska, very impressive. I was hoping somebody would come with a debate like that. And when you give a data, always you refer to your source, but at the same time you'll have to say 20 people die, but in which country? I'm sure it's not worldwide. You must be referring to a particular country. So when you refer to a data, like quote your source, which you did, but also refer to the complete data of it. You came up with a lot of your own content. We have heard a lot of debaters take data from here and there and put it together. But what I liked about your debate was you created a lot of your own contents, and that's always the best part of a debate. Wish you luck. Let's see what happens.
Thank you, sir. My opponents have been making baseless assumptions. Since time immemorial, donations of the organ has been made voluntary. If this would have worked, we would not have faced the loss of hundreds of people around the globe. Similarly, they have emphasized on right to self-decision. But as a human being, it is our duty first to save another people's life. If not during the lifetime, at least after death, by donating organs, we can be of some use to others. Thank you.
You all are definitely very good debaters. You have made it to this round on a national level competition. So 3 of you who will be eliminated today, I would say that do not get discouraged. ANUSKA PANT, you will be making it to the next level. Congratulations.
Nepal government should ban the privatization and exploitation of its natural resources.
When a person is in a stage of dying due to heart problem, if you start preparing for his grave when you could have saved his life, it is not a right thing to do. Ministry of Industry has mentioned that Nepal, which is known to have the potential of 83,000 megawatt hydropower, has been able to produce only 700 megawatt in the period of 100 years. And it is all due to the main villains who have kept us all in dark, the hydropower license brokers. Similarly, Ministry of Industry has mentioned that in the period of 15 years, 25.4% of the forest cover has been lost. Now, we have only 24.5% left. It is all due to illegal use of deforestation by individuals and those groups who are privatized.
Similarly, in the Chure range of Nepal, 130 stone crossing industries are in operation, which exports more than 800,000 tons of stones and sand daily to India illegally. All these activities have posed a threat of turning Tarai, the granary of Nepal, into a desert. Now imagine how much hazardous would it be for us if we would go on legalizing privatization? Do you still support we should not ban privatization of resources? Private companies are all profit-oriented. My examples have clearly justified that in the motive of generating profit, they are all over-exploiting our resources. Nepal is a country, the base of whose advertisement to the world are its natural resources. So if we do not protect it, we will be lost. Like the dodo bird, which got extinct during 1681, the 69 endangered species of Nepal will have to face the same fate, and it will have an effect on tourism, an immense sector which has a huge potential in our country. Now just imagine, if you start comparing Nepal with China, then it is not going to work, because it is very unlikely that the fragile governments of Nepal cannot have control over the privatized sectors, so privatization is not an option at the present context. But if you still argue that we should privatize the natural resources and exploit it, then I should say it is not the right thing to do. Thank you.
Anushka, I must say you're very young, but the level of confidence you have is probably of a person who already has a master's degree, and that too in that particular field. It was a very well-studied and researched debate. It had a lot of examples, and especially from Nepal, since we're talking about what the government of Nepal should and should not do. It had good reasoning and grounding of facts, so I think that was really good. Thank you.
Kripa has mentioned a very good point. I just have one thing that I would like to praise you, is that you use the tone of your voice and your body language to send a message to influence the audience. I think it worked.
Anuska, this is what I call a perfect debating.
Thank you, sir.
It's a difficult topic, and you did a great justice to this particular one. I salute you for your debate today. It's very strong, and it's a very bold presentation. You have amazing research, very well placed, and you've made very good logics. And as Judge Ying said, that you'll end up convincing a lot of your viewers today. At the same time, I would like to say that today you're clear and confident. There's no doubt about it. But today, for the first time, I'm seeing you nervous inside. Is that true?
I don't know.
You don't know. But you dealt with it very, very well. You didn't let it. So that's a very good thing of a debater.
Thank you, sir.
Talking against the topic itself, my opponent has been supporting exploitation, which is in itself a negative term. Would you permit labor exploitation? Then why resource exploitation? I have already mentioned that when there is no balance of power in our country, privatization would create more exploitation of the natural resources. Let me tell you one thing, that in our life, what is the main goal? We want to achieve happiness. We cannot compare GDP with gross national happiness, which means peace and harmony with the nature. We can have happiness when we have peace and harmony with the nature. But if we start privatizing and exploitation of resources, we will not achieve happiness. So I justify that. I think I've justified that we should not promote privatization of natural resources. Thank you.
Utsav, Anuska and Urusa, a very good debating today. It's a very difficult topic that we have given. And normally in semi-final, the topics are difficult because it becomes very difficult to select 2 out of 4. But today's decision is very clear. It's very obvious that Utsav will have to let you go from here. And it's not that you're not a good debater. You have debated well in the past. I don't know what was the problem today. So prepare well and carry on debating. And Anuska and Urusa, congratulations. We'll be seeing you in the finals. Prepare well. You both are tough debaters, so I'm looking forward to the finals. Congratulations.
Peace is possible without justice.
If you ask me about the most recurring dispute so far, then it would be between a husband and a wife. Now just imagine the number of divorce cases that would be piled up if justice had been sought between such small disputes instead of peace. This can be taken as an evidence from the fact that divorce cases in society like in US, where justice is preferred to peace, is comparatively higher than in places where peace is preferred. This situation can be extrapolated to various other cases in our society, country, and even in the whole world. Let's take an example of our own country, Nepal. The 10 years long Maoist armed revolution did not end with justice. Justice was not given to those 13,246 dead, in addition to many injured and disappeared victims. Now just imagine what would have happened if they would have tried to bring peace through justice. We would certainly have no peace, because in the process of giving justice to those people, the damages that would have occurred would be irreparable. Now we have chosen peace without justice. We have peace, yes. There might be conflict in the mind of those people, but time will certainly heal their wound and we will have peace forever. We can also take another example of Sri Lanka. The 26 years long civil war of Sri Lanka did not come to an end with justice. The Sri Lankan government forces imposed extreme violation of human rights, and there was forced disappearances. Now, for the sake of justice, we can certainly not compromise the peace achieved after 26 years long civil war. And also it is not favorable, because if we start giving justice to those people, the peace will certainly be violated. The difficult idea about justice is that it is not one-fold. There is legal justice, moral justice, social justice, and many more. And what we actually get from a court is always a legal justice. For instance, when there is a riot and lives and properties are destroyed, the criminals, if arrested, will certainly be punished for the crime. The state will prosecute them for having violated the law. This is certainly justice. But how does this justice help those people who have lost their dear ones, who are perhaps their breadwinners? How does this justice help those people who have lost their property and now live in poverty make peace? Just think about it. My opponent might argue that peace without justice is not sustainable, but I'll give you a very good example of our neighboring country, China. In China, there is no freedom of expressions, no women reproductive right. The government has been continuously restricting religious acts, and the ones suffering from HIV/AIDS are discriminated. There is no fairness, there is no justice. And USA, which is thought to have all the essential foundation of judicial system in this modern world, has 5 times more violent crimes than in China, as mentioned by the economist.com. You see, we can certainly have a sustainable peace even without justice. I am not trying to argue that I do not want justice, but if justice and peace without justice are both at stake, I would definitely choose peace without justice without any reservation for the greater good. Thank you. My opponent said that justice is a precondition for peace and that we cannot have peace without justice. Then tell me, how are we going to have peace? How is peace to prevail as a natural consequence of justice if the justice given by the judge is not accepted by the people? Peace and justice have a very tenuous connection between them. Justice is a rather ambiguous term, whereas peace is a practical outcome. So peace cannot be guaranteed by justice. So we can also say that peace and justice do not have a better home in a society. But if we could bring peace without justice and with forgiveness, that would be better. Let me give you an example of Truth Reconciliation Council, where the culprits confess their crime and the victims forgive the culprits. But if in this case the victims would have sought justice and not forgiven, the culprit would have risen to become rebellion, and we would certainly not have peace. Thank you.
Anuska and Urisa, wow. This has been the best debate in the entire series of 2012 and 13, I must say. I have a lot of points to say, but I'm kind of speechless because I was so moved and touched by a lot of components that both of you brought, because it's a very difficult topic to debate. And so far you have done a great justice to this topic. On Anuska, you made a very good start on a very personal note, and that really helps your viewers and your judges to connect to you. And then you straight away took it to the Maoist insurgency. Then you made an international point of view as well. You also expressed various kinds of justice, and how you limited the whole global focus just on the legal system. That's a very smart connect from starting in a very short time, taking it from a personal example to even telling the entire world that their governments do not function very well when it comes to a justice system.
The clarity and the examples that you had were very, very important for each of you. The expression that you give it are obviously your own personal styles, which is always hard for judges to deal with, because I think when you're out in the world and you're arguing your cases, that's very important and you have to trust that. So I respect both of your styles as you began to present this. I like the international combined with national examples. That's really important. And I think you've been given a really tough topic to argue, peace without justice, and being able to frame it the way you did was very impressive, to try and give people some sense of the cost of loss, of not having peace, at some point, or having some cessation of violence. So I was very, very impressed, Anuska. It was very interesting approach. I'm not sure that I have university students who could do half as well as you did with that topic, so thank you.
I'm a law school professor, and I have to judge law students and sometimes lawyers, and I wish that half of them had the passion that both of you demonstrated today. Anuska, your fluency, that passion that you have came across so powerfully that you convinced me. And the same thing with your rebuttal. I think that is important, that in the rebuttal, what you want to do is pick just one area. You're not going to repeat yourself. You have to pick that one area you need to clarify, concerning your opponent's presentation. So that's what's going to round your persuasive argument to the public. And I think that you did that beautifully. To both of you, you were exceptional.
I contradict my opponent's implications of seeking justice everywhere by saying that absolute justice is not possible. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, it mentions that justice is the fairness in which people are dealt with, which is in itself a relative definition. In our day-to-day life, we have to become the victims of various forms of injustice. Even in my way to this place, I had to witness it, just like I did not get the female reservation seat in a microbus while I came to this place. There were boys in the street who teased me without any reason, and many more. And I believe that everyone else over here are also having similar fate every day. Does this mean that everybody here, and all the members of the human world are not at peace at every second of their life? No, I cannot stop myself from denying that I am at peace despite the instances of minor injustices, and I believe you all also feel the same. Now my argument goes towards 13 years back during the abolishment of bounded labours, commonly known as Kamaya. Government had a dilemma to choose between justice and peace without justice. Justice demanded that the culprits be punished, but taking action against such a huge mass of population would take the control out of their situation. So what they thought was, they provided the Kamayas with all the provisions for their day-to-day life, and thus they freed the culprit. That means they made peace without justice. And don't you think it is a rational decision? Of course it is. So peace is certainly possible without justice. Thank you. My opponent has focused on the idea about an eye for an eye, but that is not actually good. Where there is peace, there is justice. But where there is justice, we cannot claim that there is peace. The recent encroachment of 19 kilometers in the eastern Ladakh region of Indian territory by the China's army has raised a question to the sovereignty of India. In this situation, India could have sought justice by having a war with China. Now just think, what would be the condition if two powerful countries with nuclear weapons would have fought war in the name of justice? Would there be anyone left to witness the justice? Certainly not. But in that process, they actually stepped a few kilometers backward and maintained peace through mutual understanding. You see, peace is possible even without justice. Thank you.
The quoting of sources, to quote the dictionary, I have issues with that. One of you also quoted the BBC, and, is that a good source? Is that an infallible source? Maybe it is necessary to quote something, but, are you quoting the United Nations article, and you say this is what the international community has decided in terms of what justice is? And again, let me ask you a simple question. And, what is the question that you want to ask us? It's throwing the debate back to us to say, hey, what about this? Have you thought about this? I don't care what you think. I'm presenting here, I'm trying to convince you of my thesis. Are we talking about individual justice or collective justice? Instead of citing one example, you want to cite, genocide, a massacre, a terrorist act. And how would people, the victims or the relatives or those who lost their loved ones, how do you get justice when the terrorist dies? You did an excellent job, and I enjoy your second presentations much better than the first one. Thank you.
If each of you had defined, in some sense, what peace is, the kind of peace you were talking about, whether it's going to be that personal peace or whether it's going to be that national peace or international or that sense of internal peace, and what kind of justice. And I think one thing overall that you could have pulled on, Ursa, is that you could say, I'm talking about sustainable peace. Because you were, I heard, when you talked about it in terms of long term. And obviously you're talking about peace as a beginning process, which was different. And your piece was, so two different pieces going on, which makes it very hard to judge this, I must say. So I'm sneaking up. No, it's just a privilege to be here, and thank you very much. It was very exciting, and I think that I've learned a lot.
The topic and the content that you brought, they're very deep feelings and deep logics. So somehow that didn't go very well with you both rushing with time and being loud. So you could have both brought a bit of reflection in your own content. You both brought new contents in the rebuttal round, which was kind of a nice surprise to me. And Anuska, I liked the logic behind Ladakh encroachment. I had never thought it that way. I have followed that news pretty closely. And it's amazing how you brought that content in a very non-refutable way. It's a great debate that came out of both of you. Anuska and Urusa, I must say, in my judging of maybe more than 40 episodes of this series, this today has been the most difficult one. Not just for me, but for the other judges as well. And I'd like to reinstate that there's a special mention round where one of you runner-up will be bailed out, and whoever is the runner-up today will definitely have a great chance for that. The runner-up for grade 10, 11, 12 English category will be ANUSKA PANT.
ANUSKA PANT of grade 10 from Sri Satya Sai Shiksha Southern as the runner-up of the grade 10, 11 and 12 English category. Congratulations, Anuska. With this, we have come to the end of today's program. We will be back soon with Nepal's Top 7 Debaters 2014. If you are a student studying between grade 7 to bachelor's level, you can apply for Nepal's Top 7 Debaters 2014. The application submissions are now open. You can call the TYA office at 4257-250 or email us at utya@gmail.com. Till then, namaste.